The bill also requires that school districts report the number of objections they receive on materials, the materials that received an objection, and outcomes of that objection. But just like the current process, you're still going to start with your local principal. If a parent has an objection, they go to their principal, then they don't agree with that, then they go to their school board, and they don't agree with that, and they ultimately could land themselves at the Department of Education.
Follow up. Thank you, Madam Chair. So are you concerned at all about this bill resulting in a lack of diversity and representation in instructional materials in communities that possess homogeneous political and social ideologies, maybe due to the influence or lack thereof of the public participation process of parents?
Absolutely not.
Follow up.
You reckon?
Have you done any studies that will take into account and have looked at over the years the types of parents or the number of parents who've been directly involved in school reading lists in this state or any other states?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No, but part of this bill, what we're really doing is there are some counties that have what we've done is taken almost like the best practices of what's happening in some of these counties right now with some of the groups and how they're dealing with some of these situations. And we're essentially taking those best practices and making sure that all counties follow it. So the studies that I've seen and the information that I have is there are counties that are following these type of procedures and guidelines, and it's working very well.
Final follow-up, Madam Chair.
You reckon?
In conclusion, do you have any factual data, documents, or evidence that would show you or show us any studies, anything legitimate that would indicate that this bill is necessary other than a subjective thought process, any data, document, or evidence that indicates or proves that it is necessary to push this type of legislation?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. All I could say is some counties are using it, and it's working for them. And so as a result, we're pushing it statewide.
So just so I understand, it can be banned until a parent complains first, and then that starts the process of banning the book.
That is correct. Parent or a member of the community.
Thank you. Is there an appeals process outlined in the bill in case when that list goes out?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's the same process that exists exactly now. But basically, the appeal process is if you don't like it, you can go to the librarian, then it goes to the principal, then it goes to the school board, then it goes to DOE. So essentially, there's 3 appeals after you would bring up the initial complaint. So,
So the same appellate process would be the bodies that ban the books, correct?
that's correct. Well, if a principal banned a book, the school board can object and reinstate the book.
The list that that is included in the bill of banned books or books that were contested, that will then have to go, I believe I read that it goes before either the Department of Education or to the commissioner to be reported that it was one of those books that was contested, right? For that, is there a reason behind doing that? Is that something that if one book was contested in one school district or one area, that it will be now made public so that it can be contested all over the state? Or if it's eliminated from one area, is it then eliminated from the rest of the state as well?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and very good question. I think it's just to try to provide consistency throughout the state. You know, if somebody objects and it gets shot down, let's say by the principal, and the principal thinks it's okay, and that should still probably go to the DOE, which it will, and eventually that list will be compiled every year, and probably those books will be reviewed. But it's that department at the DOE, that Just Read department, will make the determination of what's acceptable. And then if a book does go through the process, gets banned somewhere, goes to the DOE thinks it's acceptable, yes, that list of banned books would go out throughout the state. So we do have consistency from one district to the next of the books that are banned only.
Not only unconstitutional under Article 9, Section 4 that I just mentioned about school districts, but it's also an unfunded mandate. We've heard testimony about the expense and the need for a specialist and the cost this is going to have, and what are you going to do with these books? And hopefully we're not going to burn them. For some reason, we voted down the amendment that would have ensured that we're not going to destroy these books. So now they got to be stored. So all these things add up and have cost. And so we're talking about an unfunded mandate under Article 7, Section 18. the process by which this bill is being considered. This is yet again another House bill. It's come over to us without any substantive committee of reference. We have a rule in the Senate for House bills. If we're going to take them up, when we haven't taken up a Senate bill or a Senate bill hasn't made it through its committees, it's supposed to require a 2/3 vote. So this little Tallahassee two-step here, where they bring the House bill over, refer it to one committee, vote it out of that committee, and then it gets to go to the floor. So you don't have to do that 2/3 vote. So the process by which this bill is being offered is not consistent with the spirit and the deliberative nature of this body. And when it comes to the book burning, and I'm sorry, but also we've heard from almost every aspect of the education process, teachers, librarians, parents, and even clergy have all stood up united in their opposition to this bill. I think that tells us something. I think that tells us that maybe we need to go back to the drawing board on this, and that this piece of legislation maybe isn't as well thought out as we would otherwise like.